Good evening and welcome. I'm Alex Tremaine. I'm an old man who builds Gundam. And today, going to be continuing on with the Master Grade Full Armour Unicorn build that we are reaching part 10 of this build because there's so fucking much of it. Just so much. We have previously achieved a mobile suit with 2 beam magnums, which apparently this is what Gunpla considers to be pistols, I guess. I mean, I guess technically magnums aren't necessarily pistols, but we've got some little grenade packs on the legs there, and in addition to that, last stream we finished off one of the hyper bazookas, because everything must be named hyperbolically. So I'm going to be continuing on where we left off, which is building the other hyper bazooka. So we just finished hyper bazooka right with its extendable barrel, and it is now time for hyper bazooka left. So I'm just going to put that out of, or time to finish Hyper Bazooka left, which is, you know, largely together already. So let's move across to the other side of this. So what we're going to do is this gets mounted on this side. Then we need X1, sprue X is the multicolour sprue, so X1 is this here. And this is one of those wonderful situations, I think, where all of these nub marks are going to be hidden because they are all on parts that are going to go into something else. Right, so I've got to put these together with those parts facing inwards, and then the long bit faces forwards, like so. Ooh, have I really skipped a part on this? Let's look at some of what's going on here. So we've definitely done up to this point. We've definitely got that on there. Did we not do this in sprue N? We have multiple sprue ends. This one looks like it's... Oh hey, no. We didn't do the back end of this. Okay. Well, that's easy enough to resolve. Apologies for the lack of stream on Thursday. Stuff came up and I'm afraid it took priority, but I'm here today. For anybody who's not familiar, I stream Thursday evenings and Saturday evenings UK time, in 12 of this one. and mostly building Gundam, with the occasional gaming stream, which I did last week, for example. Right, so that I'm done with. I can go back up here. Stop. Okay, let's do this first. Yeah, last Saturday we played Sunless Skies, which was very good fun. Bit of a story time stream, which was nice. Played some more of that on a different save. Started a new captain to play some more of that during the week. That was really good fun. I think we may well come back to Sunless Skies on stream in the future, but for today I wanted to get a bit more done on this unicorn, because I can feel the end is approaching on this one, and once this is done, we're going to move on to the first perfect grade that we've done on stream, which will be the perfect grade Strike Freedom, and I'm very much looking forward to trying something a bit more substantial. Not that this hasn't been a substantial build, but I'm looking forward to just trying something a bit bigger. Hey Panda Place, how you doing? Hope you're having a good evening. I too am looking forward to the Strike Freedom. Really think that's going to be a fun one. Yeah, that's fair. My evening is going pretty well, thanks. It's been a nice quiet day. It's been a bit warm for my tastes all day, but it's getting to a sensible temperature now. It's been pretty nice weather. My other half is very much enjoying the sunshine and warm temperatures. I've got Monday off because it's a bank holiday in the UK, and yeah, just all round a good weekend, really. I'm just sorry that you're suffering through work, but glad that you're here and that I can hopefully provide at least some entertainment in your time of need. Right, so let's get this fitted on. There we go. Right, put that out of the way again for the moment, and we need to do these. But yes, I've spent a goodly chunk of today actually taking a break from Sunless Skies, and playing some Satisfactory, which is if you're not familiar with it, a factory building game a la sort of Factorio and the like, but it's a first person 3D type thing as opposed to the top down setup of Factorio. So I've been having some fun with that, building myself a lot of conveyor belts Yeah, it's still in early access. There's still a lot to come, but the core sort of the core mechanics are in there. There's certainly sufficient tiers of technology and sort of research options available to keep you busy for a reasonably long game. There's only 4 maps at the moment, but they're all quite large. They do add maps periodically, and the maps provide a degree of there is definite sort of differentiation between the maps. There's a desert map, there's a tundra map, there's a forest map, and a sort of plains map type thing, and they're all very different and well defined. But the core sort of gameplay loop of build a thing so that you can build a better thing, so that you can build a better thing, so you can build a better thing is fully realised and very good. They've done a pretty good job with it, but obviously the usual, it is still in early access, caveats apply. But yeah, I've not had any problems with it, and I've really enjoyed it. This is my first really deep run through it. I had a go through it a few months back, but I didn't get too deeply into it at the time. But giving it another try now, and I have not been disappointed. Though it has been long enough that some things have definitely changed with it since my last run through. For the better. Ian Dog, hey, how you doing? After last week's story time, we are back on the Gunpla this week. Just saying, I want to get this full armour unicorn out of the door so that we can get on to some perfect grades. Yeah, glad to hear you're doing well. I too am having a pretty good one. Bank holiday weekend, I get 2 Sundays effectively, which is nice. The weather's good, which, you know, if I were to go outside, I guess that would be nice. Yeah, temperatures dropped down to a slightly more sensible level now. This room I'm in gets quite warm it's a fairly small room, and the computer puts out a not insignificant chunk of heat. With the computer and 2 monitors, you know, it warms up in here pretty quickly. Right, that's all nice and tidy. On to the next. I'm not designed for the warm. I am far too well insulated to survive the warm terribly well. But hey ho. My other half is loving it, so I can live vicariously in that regard. Cats have spent the entire day just sort of lying around pretending that they're dying of exhaustion, which is fairly standard for them, but you know, they've been a bit more emphatic about it today than normal. And as I say, spent some time playing Satisfactory. I got up late, which was nice. I've been running on a bit of a sleep deficit this week. Yeah, beer. Don't know what beer we've got in the house at the moment. That might be a thing to investigate on, but on the break. I think we've got some stuff in, but I don't know if any of it's chilled, which is which will be the deal breaker at the moment, I think. But yeah, got a nice rest of the weekend planned. Broadly working around the theme of doing as little as possible. Got some wrestling to watch. Always have some wrestling to watch. We've got some wrestling to catch up on. Constant vain attempt to catch up on Stardom. Getting there slowly. Hopefully get through a few shows this weekend. And yeah, just looks like it's going to be a nice one. Might spend some time in the garage on Monday. Ooh, MOT time, always the worst. As I say, I may well spend some time in the garage, either tomorrow or tomorrow or Monday, but it will be purely for entertainment purposes, rather than having to fix something because it genuinely needs fixing or there's problems. It's always the car maintenance on a schedule is always is never fun, or never as fun as you want it to be, you know. Right, so then this goes in this way round. And is held in place like so. Right, we are nearly there. We just need to build the underbarrel thing, which is all on sprue WB1? Is it all on sprue WB1? All on sprue WB. Okie dokie. Oh hey Shitty, how you doing? Yes, go forth, get beer. Oh. Beer is definitely the tool for the job. Right, is there anything else off this sprue we need? $14, which is this one. I did wonder if that was on the list. Vaguely recalled there being a barrel. And we need this as well. So yes, with the weather the way it is, I may well, if I can fight past my laziness, I may well nip into the garage either tomorrow or Monday and do some work on the kit car. You got much you've got to do on the motorbike, Ian? Is it serious stuff, or is it just tinkering? Also, what sort of motorcycle are we talking here? Oil change, brakes, front and... okay. That all seems reasonably straightforward. The only thing that leaps out at me there is what's the problem with the wiring loom? That could be anything from a 2-minute fix to 3 hours of frustration with a multimeter, in my experience. floor. Well, not on the floor, thankfully. Okay, so that's you're probably not going to have 3 hours with a multimeter of frustration. That seems like it should be fairly straightforward. That's good. I'm glad it's not something. I'm glad it's not something any more esoteric. I am hopeful that when I get to the. I'm hopeful that when I get to the wiring, well, to the further adventures in the wiring loom on the kit car, that it's going to be fairly straightforward as well. As far as I can tell, everything is correct on the wiring loom, and there are no shorts, but we're only going to find out as and when I start connecting everything up. All the engine connections are okay, because the engine runs. But I need to start connecting all of the other ancillaries, lights. I mean, it's primarily lights. There's not much ancillary on the kit car. It is, well, it is broadly speaking an 80s car using 60s technology, so there's not a great deal to go wrong on it. Oh God, I wish I had a. I mean, interesting thing. The car actually in The Prisoner is not a kit car. That was a that was an actual car, a production car. Patrick McGowan was driving a Lotus 7 in The Prisoner, and the design of the Lotus 7 has since. You cannot find Lotus 7s for love nor money. If you can find an actual Lotus 7, they're worth a fucking fortune. But the design of the Lotus 7 was really popular among kit car manufacturers. And there's all sorts. Caterham were the first one, and probably the best known. But Westfield have made them. There's a variant called the Tiger, and there's a few others. And they're very cool. Mine is not one of those. Mine is those normally use certainly the more current. Well, actually no, I tell a lie. I don't know what the more current versions use as the donor car for those kits. The versions that I've seen and sort of helped tangentially work on, sort of people I've known who've had them and built them, they used Ford Sierra as the donor car. Good chassis, the Ford Pinto engine, really flexible as a donor car. But yeah, the actual one from The Prisoner, production car. Mine is a my kit is a Birchall McCoy, which was a kit I believe the kit was issued in the first issued in the late 70s or early 80s, one or the other. I don't remember the actual. I really should actually look that up and be certain about that at some point. Which is and it uses an Austin Mini as the donor car, or an Austin Mini Metro later on. Mini Metros work fine too. And it's literally just effectively just a replacement fiberglass shell. And you bolt the front and rear subframes from a Mini or a Mini Metro onto it, and that's basically it. But it's not a terribly popular one. There were, I believe, around 100 kits made, of which somewhere between 50 and 60, I think, were registered as going concerns, of which mine was one, thankfully, which means I don't have to get it through, I only have to get it through an MOT, I don't have to get it through the more stringent IVA. Yeah, it's a nice piece of kit. I can just trying to think if I've got can I do, let's have a look. Let's see if I can do this on the fly. There you go, that's what it looks like. Let's just shrink that down a little bit further. Right, there it is. It's not the most stylish of beasts in the world, but I love it. It's stupid but fun. So we can, let's just do, there's the engine bay, little classic Mini A series engine in there, which does run, runs without any problems. Needed a little bit of repair work on it to get it going, but it wasn't anything major. There was a leak on one of the seals on the block, which was easy enough to resolve, and it needed a new coil and a new alternator. Yeah, it's a nice piece of kit. So the job for the weekend, if or the next job, is this dashboard is just plywood. So I want to reinforce it with some sheet metal, basically, so I can properly mount the top end of the steering column onto it and start working out how I'm mounting the instruments to it and things like that. So it's and as you can see, here is my wiring loom, all neatly labelled up with yellow insulation tape saying what each of the connectors is, because my dad and I sat down and did that, and it has saved no end of time having that all sorted out. But yeah, there you go. That's the beast. Let's remove that. So yeah, it's I've kind of done the fun bits, unfortunately, in that I've got the engine working, which is, and working on the engine is the bit that is the bit of working on cars that I really enjoy. So now it's a whole bunch of, there's basically a whole bunch of fabrication that needs to go on to actually get it up and running, and I just need to, you know, buckle down and do it. But yeah, that's the task to get that all together. The dashboard is the first thing on the list. Then after that, we've got God, what's the next job? Dashboard, so I can mount the so I can properly mount the steering column rather. Then I need to find out why it's not going into reverse, which I think is just an issue with the gear selector mount. And I have some new mounts for that, so hopefully that'll resolve that issue. And then once those two things are resolved, I can actually then maneuver it around under its own power. It'll go forwards at the moment, but I just can't get it to go backwards, which is a real pain, because it means I've got to push it out of the garage if I want to move it around. And at the point where you've already got to push it around, it's easier just to then move it around manually anyway. But yes, if I can get those two things done, then it's movable under its own power, which makes an awful lot of other things much easier. I need to oh yeah, it's super light, like really insanely light, particularly at the back. I need to, what's after that? Replace the discs and calipers on the front, because the discs are rusty as fuck, and the bleed nipples have sheared off in the calipers. And I figured, I thought about removing the bleed nipples the hard way, and the discs are probably fine, you know, if you sort of spun the wheels and under power and used the brakes a bit, it would probably clean the rust off without any problems. But I then looked at the price of a pair of discs and a pair of calipers, and came to the conclusion that I've already replaced the master cylinder. I might as well replace for the cost. I'd rather have the confidence that it's fresh discs and calipers and pads. So I'm just going to bite the bullet and replace them. If there's one thing that you want to have absolute confidence in a car, it's the brakes. So I'm happy to futz about with sort of with refurbishing and repairing an awful lot of stuff on a car, but you don't fuck around with brakes. Hey Two Crit Builds, how you doing? Toilet bleach and a toothbrush. Woof. Yeah, I mean, I can't say for certain, but I suspect we're dealing with a different level of rust. In that prior to my acquisition of this, of the vehicle, it had been sat for between 15 and 20 years, I believe. So it's about 15 or 20 years worth of rust, and a lot of that time was sat outside as well. So I'm just gonna take it off, basically. Setup is very slightly new in that I now have an actual green screen going on behind me, but all cameras are still as they were. But yes, I'm rather enjoying the whole green screen situation. It makes for a much cleaner this corner of the screen, which I'm rather liking, and will allow for more interesting things in the future, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, if the discs and calipers had just been standing for a year and it was just like surface rust, then sure, whatever. But it's a bit more than surface rust. This is, I mean, as far as green screens go, this is very simple. It's literally just a green screen curtain that I've hung on a sprung loaded shower curtain rail that just runs behind me, and it's just that's all it is. It was very cheap for what it is, but it does the job. So is your consolidation project going well? The other good thing about it was it's because I don't have an awful lot of space behind me, because there's no stand involved or anything. It's there's not a lot of it doesn't take up a lot of room because the pole is up at sort of ceiling height. Oof. Yeah, that's I am unfamiliar with such things myself, but if you're enjoying it and learning, that's the important thing, and getting something productive out of it as well, which is also always good. So which way around does this go? It doesn't matter. Proprietary file formats. Everybody's favourite thing. Yeah, that's fair. Getting stuff into a sensible format that everybody can actually make use of is... I think my go-to image format these days is PNG. Rust is the killer. I mean, I have... Ooh, yeah, putting stuff on a local server's good. I like that idea. Time capsule's a nice one too. Sounds like you've got yourself an interesting little project there. Yeah, Ian, Rust is the killer. I lost my last daily driver, not the one I got now, but the one I had before it. I lost to Rust. I had a 1998 Toyota MR2, which I loved to bits, and it had some rust on the sill, on the driver's side sill, and I took it in before its MOT to get it sorted. Took it in for its MOT to get it sorted, and unfortunately, whilst the rust that I sent it into, let's do this the right way around. The rust I actually sent it in to get repaired wasn't too bad. They said there wouldn't be any trouble fixing that, but as they worked on it, unfortunately, the vibrations of grinding off the bad metal shook loose a bunch of rusted through metal on the... There we go. Shook loose a bunch of rusted through metal on the rear wheel arch, and they said, you know, they rang me up and they said, do we have your permission to look a little deeper into this? And I said, well, I need it to get through an MOT in less than a week, so yeah, you'd better have a look and see what it is. Right, so we have two completed hyper bazookas with grenades and rocket packs and the like. So they had a deeper look, and they took the rear bumper off, and the mounts for the rear bumper disintegrated into reddish brown dust as they removed it, and apparently it was just completely tin-wormed at the back of the car, under the bumper, and it was going to be about 2-3 grand to get it fixed, which was noticeably more than the car was worth at that point, because it was a UK spec MR2, so it wasn't the JDM import, which means it wasn't one of the turbos. And whilst the turbos hold their value much better, the normally aspirated MR2s not so much, so it wasn't worth that much. So sadly, it had to go. Thankfully, the garage I took it to was actually an MR2 specialist, and they raced them. So I was like, well, can you use it for parts to save it having to be trailered home and me then sell it on for parts? And they were like, we can give you some cash for it. And thankfully it was enough to cover the work they'd already done on the car, which meant I didn't have to pay to have it brought home, and then I didn't have to sell it on afterwards. I possibly could have got more, but I think I got a reasonably good deal on that one. Apparently the things that were of value on it were the wheels and the rear wing. The rear wing on that particular version, that particular revision, and the rear wing, the wheels and the rear wing are desirable, so they were worth just enough to cover the work they'd already done, and had a little bit left over. But these things happen, and now I have a 2009 Subaru Impreza WRX instead, which, whilst not as pretty, is much faster. Not quite as fun a drive, but boy does that thing fucking go. There's nothing quite like a mid-engine rear-wheel drive two-seater sports car for a fun drive. I mean, don't get me wrong, the WRX is really fun, but it's a lot more No, that's unfair. The MR2 was predictable. It was very easy to tell. It would tell you exactly when the back end was going to spin out. But it's the WRX is a lot more sensible drive, shall we say, despite its massive upfront grunt. But the MR2 was a predictable sideways car, which is quite nice, you know. It would communicate to you very clearly when the back end was about to let go, and then you could take control of that quite nicely, which is how you want that to happen. Earlier versions of the MR2, mine was a revision 5. Revision 1 and 2, renowned for the fact that it did not communicate when the back end was about to let go, and the back end would just let go without telling you, and then it would be all over. But from from revision 3 onwards, they completely rejigged the suspension geometry, and it was much safer. Right, so we are moving on to a shield. So we need D6. We are moving on to specifically... Oh no, we are making 3 shields at this point. Okay. So we need D6, WA4 and WC12. So right, I'm just going to go on mute for a second whilst I rustle through removing some plastic from some sprues. Bear with me a second. There we go. All of the plastic rustled. Right, so what were we doing? We need that one. And we need that one. Goes back in here for the moment, I think. And then from this we needed WC12, which is this. Also going to put that back in here. Right, what's the other one we need? I-26. Where is it? Sprue I? I know that I've got that here somewhere. Here it is. I-26. There we go. The other thing I looked at and was faintly disappointed about this week was I looked at the PC remaster of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne was released this week, so I had a look at that, and they're really fucking gouging us for that one, aren't they? It's full price for a remake, like I think it's like 50 quid for the game, but not only is it full price for a remaster, 50 quid for a PS2 game in 2021, but if you actually want all of the same stuff that was in the PS2 game that, for example, I bought in the early 2000s, you've got to spend money on you've got to spend like another 8 quid on DLC, maybe more, in order to get the Maniacs version, which was just the version that they sold. And I'm sat there and thinking, you know what, I might wait for this to come down in price. I might just wait for this to go on sale, because at that price I'd rather just break out the PS2 and play the original. And it's weird because the price point they put Persona 4 Golden at was pretty sensible for a PS2 remaster. I don't know why. What were they thinking? Baffled by the whole thing. I'll get the game, sure, but it's gonna have to wait until it comes down. I cannot justify it at that price. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but these things happen, I guess. I was looking forward to getting my JRPG grind on, but yeah. But I guess people will pay the money, and if they'll pay the money, they'll put it at that price, so... Hey, Shitty. Ah, you went with McDonald's as well. Yes, I was eating McDonald's during your stream, I'm afraid. I was just bemoaning the price of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. I went for some of the chicken nuggets selects, is it? Some of the chicken selects and some fries, and it was very nice. Had some of the sour cream and chive sauce. Three's fantastic. I've got three on PS2. I bought it back in the day, as they say. But I was just saying, if you actually want the version that came on the PS2 disc, you've got to buy the DLC. It doesn't come with everything that was in the original release. And they're selling it at full price for a PS2 remaster, which seems a bit fucking cheeky to me. Yes, they really had better give you your Pokemon cards. The question is, do your Pokemon cards come with the codes to redeem them on the Pokemon Online game as well? Because I know the regular packs of Pokemon cards do. Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but yeah, hang on a moment. Oh, given that you're back, Shitty. Well, you were asking about Master and Perfect Grade sprues. So, Master Grade sprue, exactly the same as every other grade sprue. They're just all the same. Same with perfect grades. It's just that when you get a perfect grade, you get this many sprues, and they're sort of, the box is this deep. Oh. There you go. There's my there's my original Lucifer's Call, complete with manual and everything, with featuring Dante from Capcom's blockbuster series Devil May Cry. Look at that. Are these actually genuinely worth money, Shitty? I'd kind of assumed they really weren't. I bought that in a... Where did I get that from? It was from a FOP Records in Leamington Spa, if memory serves. I don't know what the hell FOP Records in Leamington Spa was doing with several copies of Lucifer's Call, or Nocturne, or whatever we're calling it, but they had them. $50 and $70. Well, that'd certainly be a profit on what I spent on it, I'm pretty certain. They'll drop off in price now there's a PC version for it. Not that I'm getting rid of this. It's just idle speculation more than anything else. Somewhere buried in the cupboard behind me, I've even got a PS2 I could play it on. Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Really? 200 for Persona 4th PS2? One moment. Like this, you mean? No. It pays to be an Atlas fan eventually. Yeah, I really want them to do... Persona 3 Portable is great, but it doesn't have... Persona 3 Portable is only the first half of Persona 3. It doesn't give you the first half. First 2/3 to 3/4, I guess, but it doesn't give you the section where you use Aegis as the main character, if memory serves, which is included in this. But I'd like them to do a hybrid because there's a lot of quality of life improvements in Persona 3 Portable that are not in the PS2 version. I should probably look at what's involved in emulating PS2 games at some point, but, well, no. It's not that I should look at what's involved. I know what's involved. It's just that what's involved is I have to dig the PlayStation 2 out to get the bloody ROM information off it in order to actually get an emulator up and running, and I just don't care enough. The PS2 is a long way in the back of the cupboard. I guess I'd also have to find a CD drive to plug into my computer, because I ain't got one of those at the moment. Actually, no, I might have a USB DVD writer somewhere. Yeah. As long as you own the copy of the game. I mean, that would kind of make sense. And I certainly own that game. All those games. Well, I'd if I was going to emulate them, I'd have to spin them long enough to copy them onto a hard drive. I mean, if you're going to bloody emulate, you don't want to be running them off CD-ROMs anyway, or DVDs anyway, because they'll be slow as fuck. Who's got time to wait for a CD to spin up anymore? I mean, Persona 4 isn't a problem. I can just place Persona 4 Gold. I have Persona 4 Golden. Persona 4 Golden is not a problem because the advantage of Persona 4 is that Persona 4 Golden is just better in every possible way than the PS2 version. There is no missing content and there is additional content, whereas Persona 3 Portable is not the same kettle of fish. I believe the PS2 Classics version of Persona 3 is, for the PS3, is this version of Persona 3, not Persona 3 Portable. But yeah, God, I wouldn't be using the spinning plastic for if I was going to emulate. Jesus. When I'd last upgraded my machine, which was just after Christmas, to put in a new solid state drive, I finally got round to disconnecting the dead DVD. No, I think it's actually a Blu-ray writer. The dead Blu-ray writer that's sitting in there. I was hoping to remove it, but I couldn't find the blanking plate for the case to replace it with. But hey ho. Nice. Hey, Two Quick Builds, how's it going? Are you tracking your Pokemon cards using the Just Eat delivery tracker? Shitty. I mean, your Happy Meals. Don't worry about how fast you're going, Shitty. You go as fast as what works for you. It's not like I can bloody talk. He says, making note of the fact that this is part 10 of this build. So why are you not sitting in? Okay, so this is alright. When in doubt, apply more force. Really? Ooh, that is a hell of a commitment there. Too quick. I am not good at not eating. I don't think I could manage that. Yeah, I just love food too much. I have no doubt that the body copes and deals with it, but it would be that would be a very large adjustment for my body. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do need to get back to doing some exercise. But I don't think I could do the fasting thing. This is somewhat frustrating. What can I use to prod this? What? I would like to know who thought this was a good design call. Really? It's weird, it didn't have this on the I think this must be a Ver.Ka thing, because it didn't have it on the I didn't have this problem on the Banshee, which wasn't the Ver.Ka. But this, I don't know if people can see this, but what you've got here, come on, hey, congratulations Shitty. So what you've got here is just here, there's this notch, right, and it's visible on the back here, okay. And here, come on, you can do it. Here, you've got this clip that's supposed to sit through that notch, but you can't you can't tilt it so that it goes through. Or at least I don't think you can. Can you? Maybe. No, I think we're just going to have to remove some of this plastic to make it go through more easily. I don't like doing, but sometimes if you want it to fit, this is just another foible with these master grade unicorns. The master grade unicorns are not bad kits, but they're not great kits either, I think is what it comes down to. It's not quite small enough. I don't really want to use the knife to push it. Ooh. You would not be wrong about it seeming like a pain. It more than seems like a pain, it absolutely is a pain. Right. I'm going to call that a win. It's not ideal, but it'll have to do. And now I've got to do it 2 more times. Yay. Let's see if any of these go more easily. Okay. Okay, you know what? Just going to take those as a win. Only one of them was a problem. We're just going to accept, move on, not complain. Didn't have to go through it 3 times, just the once. Excellent. Right, next. So, drink. Right, you know what? We've been at this an hour and a half. I've just finished my glass. Let's go on break briefly, and I will be back in somewhere around 5 minutes with some more of this, some more shields. Let's see if we can finish the shields this evening. I think we can probably manage that at the very least. Right, back shortly. apologies, that took a little longer than expected, but I am back. I am fortified with drink, and we are ready to continue with the shields. So, it is time for some translucent green. And another one. 3 sets of translucent green for 3 shields. Translucent luminous green, no less, when provided with UV light. And we also need, so from sprue D, that. Yep, I'm definitely going to. I have so many unicorns now, and still more unicorns to come, and all of them respond to blacklight, so I'm going to have, definitely going to have to get some UV LEDs to go on the display shelf that these are on, because the it's the same with the yellow on the Banshee, is also UV active. Going to be less of a problem, or less of a need on the perfect grade unicorn and Banshee, because of course I have the lighting units for those. Ooh, Hubobs have the UV LEDs on them, useful. But yeah, the perfect grades, I have the LED kits for the perfect grades, so they will light themselves. remember how these stack together so that they don't interfere with each other. Wasn't paying enough attention the first time around. Right, so this is a bunch of these to turn into so some of this I think we can sadly we're going to, I don't think any of these nub marks are going to be hidden, which is a shame. Maybe this one. We're going to clean this up anyway. Translucent plastic is always a little bit more challenging than the others to get a decent finish on. Stress marks are just a little bit more visible. But a little bit of patience, they can be made to come up nice and clean. Daniel Gamer 884, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. How's your evening going? You have joined us for the never-ending full armor unicorn build. Though I say that fully in the knowledge that hopefully we are now approaching the end. Maybe only 3 or 4 streams left now in order to get everything built, and then we'll be moving on to the perfect grade Strike Freedom to build, which I'm very much looking forward to. Haven't built a perfect grade in a little while, and I'm looking forward to building something just a little bigger. Right, so this clips on here like so. There's on the real grades of these, there's just a little clip at the tip here that keeps the white plastic in line with the translucent green that these master grades don't have, and it's sitting pretty well, to be honest, but it's just one of those nice little improvements that the real grades had or have. Real grades are just very good. So, we were talking earlier about the Shin Megami Tensei games. Now, I'm not going to be picking up Nocturne until it's on sale, because just not on principle, basically. I'm not paying that much for it. It's a great game, but it is a PS2 game from 20 years ago. So, well, from more than 15 years ago. And I'm not paying 60 quid to have a game I've already got on the shelf. But I do have Persona 4 Golden, and I have been toying about maybe streaming some of that. So my question is that a thing that would interest anybody? think the plan would be, because I have played it before, and it's a long game, so I think the plan would be, in order to make the most out of it and to see all of the story, would be that I would run it with we would do a cheat run. Well, not a cheat run, but we would do a single run all max social links run, using a guide of some variety to get us there, so that on a single run we could see all of the story that's available. Because it is a lot of game. And if we were going to do this, it would definitely have to cut into some of the build streams, unless people don't mind sort of having it run for a very long time. I don't know, it's an idea. I'm happy to take suggestions. But equally, if people enjoyed the alternate history story times from last week with Sunless Skies and want to see more of that, I am quite happy to do some more horror narration or creepy story narration, because that was enjoyable last week. I had a good time doing that. If anybody has thoughts, you can find me on Twitter at TremaineAlex. Feel free to get in touch with me there. Equally, if what you want is just more build, then I'm happy to do more build. I have no shortage of build to get through. Backlog went up this week because I got paid, and what happens when I get paid is that the backlog gets bigger. So we have 2 new master grades in the backlog. The master grade Barbatos, which is a really sweet looking kit, and the master grade Sazabi Ver.Ka, if memory serves. I think it's a Ver.Ka, which is a beefy bastard. It will be my first Xeon mobile suit. Looking forward to giving that a build. Oh, the clear parts are really nice on this. You're not wrong, Shitty. So yeah, find me on Twitter. Let me know what interests you, or let me know here, or whatever. If you just want me to build Gunpla, then I'm not going to complain. If you want more Sunless Skies, that's a thing we can do. If you would like to watch me grind at a JRPG for endless hours, that's also a thing that we can do. Well, that seems to be a firm vote for build all the kits. I mean, all the kits are going to get built, 2 quick builds, don't get me wrong, every kit is going to get built eventually. No point in buying them if they're not going to get built. But equally, the next build has been decided, which is going to be the perfect grade Strike Freedom, which is sitting in a box over there. That is definitely the next build, because I want to do a perfect grade and I want to do something that isn't a unicorn. I don't have it written down anywhere. Current backlog is perfect grade Strike Freedom, perfect grade Unicorn with LED kit, perfect grade Banshee Norn with LED kit, master grade Barbatos, and master grade Sazabi Ver.Ka. 5 things in the backlog at the moment. The perfect grade Strike Freedom is definitely the next build, because I want to do a perfect grade on stream, and I have built 2 consecutive unicorns recently, one of them off stream and one of them here, so I kind of fancy something different for on stream. I'm going to be building one of the perfect grade unicorns, probably the Banshee Norn, off stream, because I do like to build things off stream as well. The other unicorn will definitely be a candidate for an on-stream build, though if people have firm opinions about which of the unicorns they'd prefer to see built on stream, then let me know before I get started on one of them. If you'd prefer to see the Banshee Norn as the stream build, then I will be happy to accommodate on that front. And again, one of the master grades will almost certainly end up being built off stream, but one of them will definitely be an on-stream build. So oh, Harry, welcome to the stream. Are you having a good evening? You've joined during the build of the 3 shields for the full armor, master grade full armor unicorn Ver.Ka. We are part way through. Earlier this evening we finished off the second hyper bazooka. Give me a second, I'll show you where we're up to. Let me just get this assembled. Right, so that then sits on here. That's quite alright, War Harry. Your English is almost certainly better than my German is. In fact, I'm categorically say that your English is better than my German is. I have not used it for many years, and I was never that good to begin with, so I'm pretty good, thanks. I am building Gunpla, which is always a good thing to be doing. I have a bank holiday on Monday, so I don't have to be in work. We are doing okay. So we have the mobile suit itself, currently in destroy mode, with the beam magnums, dual wielding beam magnums in fact, with the grenade packs on the legs. Thank you. It has taken a little while to get this beardy, but I am pleased with the result. We finished the 2 hyper bazookas earlier this evening. Finished one last stream and finished the other one this stream. These are some nice pieces of kit, and now building the 3 shields to go with it. Right, so on to the next one. I'd kind of like to get the shields all built this evening, but I'm not sure how far we're going to get through. Thank you, I'm quite pleased with how it's come out. It still needs some more panel lining. I've done the head and the torso, but I haven't got any further on the panel lining on it. I'm a big fan of the unicorn in general. My first build was the real grade unicorn, which is a little smaller but still very cool. Yeah, this is my third unicorn build of some variety. I built the real grade unicorn there. I've got the master grade. I built the master grade Banshee. Not the Banshee Norn, and it's the standard Banshee rather than the Ver.Ka. And then this is the full armor, the master grade full armor Ver.Ka. Ooh, your first kits, that's always exciting. What have you got coming? Anything exciting? Well, they're all exciting. I waited till my second order to go crazy. My first order was just the real grade unicorn that I just showed you, but my second order was then the perfect grade Zeta, which was a hell of a fucking thing to build. Still actually really like that kit. I know a lot of people don't seem to be a fan of the Zetas, but I really like that build. I really enjoyed it. And since then I just haven't really stopped. My backlog just keeps growing. I keep thinking to myself, I will be sensible this month. I have plenty of Gunpla to build. I don't need to buy any more. And then I end up with more Gunpla. High grade Cherubim, high grade Force Impulse. Wow, you really have got yourself a whole bunch of fun stuff to build, haven't you? Ooh, you got the Barbatos, yeah. Strike Freedom. Ooh. Well, that'll keep you busy for a while. That will definitely keep you out of trouble. Thank you, 2 Quick Builds. 200 for a nipper and a hobby knife. Yeah, the nippers are the nippers can be a little on the expensive side if you go all out. At some point I will get myself a god hand, but I've not been. I've been pretty satisfied with these. These are the Vulcan nippers, which I've really found to be quite good. The great things about those high grade kits are they aren't terribly expensive, certainly in comparison to the other grades that are available. So you can get quite a few for not a tremendous amount. That's not too bad. It was 200 euros all in. Yeah, no, that makes sense. If you go in for the high-end nippers, they can get to be quite expensive. As I say, I've not bitten that bullet yet, but at some point I will do. The nippers I've got are doing very well at the moment though, so I think if I'm gonna spend on tools right now, it'll be an airbrush rather than anything else. I mean, these nippers are pretty good. I mean, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the sanding, so, but I mean, just to give you an idea of sort of how these perform, we can get a come on. There you go. It gets a fairly close cut. It's not showing up terribly well there, sadly. But yeah, these get a nice close finish on them. But I then go on to sand anyway, so. Hey David, how you doing? Saw your real grade Banshee Norn results. They look really sweet. You pleased with this? yeah, Warharry, glass files are a good call. As I say, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to sanding, so I'm using wet and dry paper, but glass files are a really good. Glass files do a really good job in my opinion. At some point I am going to get myself some glass files for situations where I'm not too bothered about getting quite the finish I get with the wet and dry, but yeah, you won't regret getting yourself a decent glass file. You will find that, well, everybody's different I guess, but I find that building is just very relaxing. Just don't panic over it, take your time. You'll steady out very quickly once you get used to it. Yeah, at some point I want to replace this with a glass file of some variety for just getting that first pass on it. But right now I have no end of finishing paper and lollipop sticks to use for that purpose. So it would seem a little wasteful to get glass files to replace them at this stage in the game. I mean, we you know, we're talking about all this filing, but you know, to give you an idea, this was my first build. I mean, I've done a bit of panel lining on this, but I did this using just the cutters I'm using here today and a knife to clean the nub marks, no sanding at all, and it still came out looking pretty fucking good. So, you know, we're talking about this, but you can still get very good results without spending massive quantity of times. Yeah, you'll find the two quick build is spot on. You'll find what works for you. You know, you'll find the level of investment for the reward of the result that you get out of it that works for you. And that's different for everybody, you know. I mean, we've got, if you're interested in seeing some different approaches, we've got several streamers here in chat. Two Quick Builds streams Gunpla build, Shitty Popu streams Gunpla builds, and he does various JRPGs. I believe he would describe it as weeb games, but everybody has their different sort of preferences. Shitty, for example, he doesn't spend anywhere near as much time as I do filing, because he goes on to paint his builds, and the painting covers up a lot of sins. All he needs is a nice flat surface, and then the paint will fill the gaps to a degree, whereas I don't currently do any painting, so my finish needs to be my finish on the plastic needs to be pretty good. But seriously, watch a bunch of streamers. There's a few of us around. I've yet to encounter a Gunpla streamer who isn't nice. Yeah, you can take away from us what is going to work from you, because everybody's different and everybody goes about things in their own way, you know. And, you know, don't be afraid to steal tricks from us, you know. It's what I do. It was someone in my chat who first suggested the idea of using wet and dry paper, which is what I do these days, and I gave it a try, and it was really good, you know. But as I say, go around, see what everybody else does, and then pick the stuff that you like. There's a lot of techniques out there. Yeah, I'd love to be able to get some. Display just in general seem to do some really good quality tools and kit. I've heard nothing but good things about the display kit clippers. They do a really nice sanding block that I've been very tempted by. They do all sorts, and they seem to do everything they do seems to be very high quality. I don't think you'll go wrong with getting anything from Display. Yep, just to agree with two quick builds. Nail file finishers and nail buffers, really, really good. Very useful. But yeah, it's worth some of the stuff that's down as being sort of like modelling specific, like scale modelling specific, files and the like can be quite expensive, but you can get almost identical kit that's for sort of fingernails, manicure stuff for much less, that's just as good, and it's worth having a look from that front. Paint airbrush. Yeah, so I would agree, getting a decent air compressor and airbrush is going to be that seems like a pretty accurate price. The compressor is going to be the largest chunk of that, at least initially. You can spend quite a bit on an airbrush, but you can get something you can get an airbrush that's certainly good enough to learn with without breaking the bank, but you can't really afford to skimp on the compressor, unfortunately. I'm fortunately in a position where I already have an air compressor in the garage for running air tools off, so at some point what I need to do is get a slightly more fine controlled regulator for it, and an airbrush, and I can use that. But yeah, the air compressor itself is going to be the big outlay on airbrushing, I'm afraid. But you can get some good results with just panel lining. I mean, to give you an idea, as I say, I did all of the panel lining on this, which it's not perfect, but I think it's come out pretty well, you know. There we go. You can see the detail on the legs there. This was my first attempt at panel lining, and I think the results are pretty solid. And I did all of that using cheap ass Gundam marker fine liner, just the fine tipped Gundam marker. Gets great results for the money. Yeah, sounds like a good deal. My plan for when I get to airbrushing is that I'm gonna stick with acrylics, at least initially, so I don't need to worry so much about breathing apparatus, and I'll be doing the work out in the garage anyway, which is very well ventilated. I mean, the other thing you've got to remember is that these kits are designed to look good without any further interference, you know. I mean, I'm showing you there sort of we've gone out of focus. Come on, let's fix that. Focus. There we go. I've shown you these that I've sort of done sort of panel lining and stuff on, but the kits are designed to look good without panel lining. So bear with me a second. So I haven't done anything to this. This is just snapped together as it came out of the box, and it still looks fucking fantastic. And you know, this is how they're designed to work. So don't be afraid about just giving it a go and seeing how it does. Yeah, water-based acrylics is what I'm planning on going with when I start airbrushing. Maybe some point in the future, if airbrushing turns out to work with acrylics, I know you can get slightly better results with sort of other solvent-based paints, and I'll probably have a look at that further in the future. But acrylics, I can at least try out the airbrushing process without needing respiration gear and the like, you know. Daniel Gamer 884, thank you for the host. That's very kind of you. Absolutely. I don't blame you at all. Using solvent-based paints is you've got to take real precautions to protect you and anybody else who's gonna breathe it in. You know, I'm fortunate in that I have a garage that is not connected to the house. It's down at the bottom of the garden, so I can use that for spraying in when the time comes. But even then, it's a well ventilated garage, and even then, if I was going to use solvent based paints, I'd need to look at how I was going to protect my own breathing, which is just an extra step of faff that I don't need right now. So I will be sticking with the water based acrylics for as long as I can, I think. Modern acrylics are really good. Paint technology is just, as with most technology, paint technology has improved over the years. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with not wanting to have a solvent headache every time you go painting. I believe you can get some. I believe you can get some acrylic primer that you can just put in the. You can just put in the airbrush. I think Vallejo. I think Vallejo have some water-based acrylic primers. Yeah, posh paints like are the colour shifters acrylic, or do you actually have to go for something a bit more? Do you have to? Are they only available in solvent based? Ooh, nice. Well, there you go. I really must do some investigation to find a decent compressed air regulator to little support an airbrush. Cool, I shall have to have a look. Just on the Vallejo YouTube channel, is it? Awesome. Yes, I need to find a decent regulator, because I have an air compressor that will absolutely do the job, but it is an air compressor that is designed for, you know, impact drivers and, you know, air powered saws and drills and cutters, so it's a little overkill for airbrushing, but the and the regulator on it is fairly coarse control. It doesn't need particularly fine control, because when you're working with something like an impact driver, you don't need to be able to do fine control over how much air is coming through, but you do for a an airbrush. So I think I've solved everything except the regulator for the I've worked out how to, I've sourced everything for dropping it to the right size hose and things, but I need a proper fine control regulator to go with it. Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good deal, War Harry. I would, if you found it, then go with what's available. Nothing wrong with using a rattle can for priming anyway. Yeah, a decent sized tank on your compressor is always nice, Ian Dog. That's the one advantage that I have in using the compressor for the air tools, is that even though it is a small tank, a small compressed air receiver, when it comes to garage based kit, as far as an airbrush goes, it's enormous. I think it's like I want to say it's a 24 litre receiver on my air compressor, which is like, you know, which when you're running something like an impact driver or something, means that the compressor is running 10 to the dozen every sort of like 2 or 3 minutes. But if you're using an airbrush, it'll last for ages. Why I have been looking at getting a new air compressor at some point, from the other perspective, from the using it for air tools in the garage perspective. I have been looking at getting potentially getting a replacement air compressor on the grounds that I do keep running out of air and having the compressor itself running all the time. So I've been looking at compressors with 100 litre receivers that can do sort of 14 CFM or so, so that I could, because I've been wanting to be able to use it for shot blasting, for getting rust off car parts. Those 30-minute mission kits look pretty good, to be honest, Daniel Gamer. They look pretty sweet. I've seen a few of them. I've not done any, but for the price and what you get out of them, they look pretty good value to me. I've seen a couple finished and they look really sweet. If that was your first, what are you building now? How badly have you been sucked into this whole thing? Oh. Nearly finished with these translucent bits. Right. So nearly there with these. Yeah, I mean, they're for those 30-minute mission kits. They're not going to want to have all that much in the way of colour on them. The whole thing is to be as, I guess, as cheap and easy to put together as possible, and that involves minimising the number of sprues involved. Still, for what they are, they're really good. I guess if they 3 plates of parts, yeah, I mean that's That gives you something that's going to reduce costs at their end and give you something that can go together really quickly. Which I guess is kind of the whole point of it. So, yeah. I like the concept. As I say, at some point I'll have to get one and see what they're like in person. Ooh, Monday. Lucky you. Well, I hope you enjoy it, War Harry. I find doing this, even streaming doing this, I find this. Oh, June 15th. That's not too far away. It's only a few weeks. What, 2 weeks? Where are we? Yeah, 2 weeks. That's not too bad. You'll be able to survive until then. Yeah, I just find doing this very relaxing. Even streaming doing this, I find very relaxing. It's a really pleasant experience. Gundam Cherubim. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's everything that you want it to be. You know. Okay. So WC20 and WA16. That's these, isn't it? WA16 is this. And WC20, which is this. And this. What else do we need? WC16, which is here. And here. The high-grade Unicorn Destroyer mode looks pretty good in my opinion. I mean, I've only seen pictures of it, but it's from what I've seen, it's actually a pretty good looking kit. I think the biggest sort of, for me, the biggest shame about the high grade unicorns is that you've got to pick one mode or the other. They don't transform. but they still look great in the mode that they're set in, you know. I think the uniformity of colour of the unicorns lends themselves quite well to the high grade kits. Apologies, I will try and stop that squeaking quite so badly. High-grade sandrock. That seems pretty sweet. I'm a big proponent of having a backlog to work through. As I'm just going to move this away from the microphone briefly. I keep giving Shitty always sounds like he has to sit down when I tell him that I've got something else for the backlog, you know. Right, so well, as long as he's happy, Shitty, you know. Oh, Harry, thank you for the follow. I do appreciate it. I do hope that you come back and tell us about how you found the experience of building the kits you've got yourself. I look forward to hearing progress updates from you. Well, I stream Thursday evenings UK time and Saturday evenings UK time. Are my regular streams. It would be lovely if you can make it. Be really nice to see what you've achieved and how you've got on. But obviously, everybody's got life to live, and not everything fits in. So if you can make it, that would be fantastic. But it depends how things go. Oh well, yeah. I mean, you're gonna be at the mercy of your shifts. So hopefully we'll see you again. If it's not next stream, then pop in when you can, and it'll be lovely to see you. Right, so we have a shield of the variety which can shrink up like so. Oh, the RG Gundam crossbone looks real nice. I have a soft spot for the crossbone. I haven't got one yet, but I would quite like to have a crossbone. I think they look real good. Yeah, the transforming gimmicks are really nice on these. I've got to be honest, Shitty. I understand your jealousy. Ooh, lovely, Ian. That sounds good. I was looking at... I can't remember whether it was the real grade or the master grade crossbone I was looking at recently. It wasn't a full cloth version, I don't think. I think I'd have remembered that. The one I very nearly bought was the instead of the Sazabi and the Barbatos, was the there is a Torgis 3 special coating version that has a high gloss coating, master grade Torgis 3 with an enormous railgun on its left arm. Looks really, really pretty, but it's one of these high gloss coatings, so I don't know. I haven't been able to find out whether it's all undergated or not for the coating, or whether it's going to leave really obvious nub marks where the nub marks interfere with the high gloss coating. So in the end I went for the Sazabi and the Barbatos instead. But the pictures look really nice. Really, really nice. But I haven't been able to find any pictures of people who've built it themselves, you know. It's only the pictures that are the promotional pictures that I've been able to find. And what I don't want is what I didn't want was to get it and then find out that it's, you know, that it's riddled with nub marks everywhere. Ooh. That sounds rather nice. I've only ever seen the full armor. I've only ever seen the full armor kits come with the green, so it'd be interesting to see what it looks like with the red. Now the real grade Sinanju, Shitapopu in channel is building one of those at the moment. He's the man to talk to about those. He seems to be having a decent time with that. Red and black, purple. Red, black and purple. I've seen some interesting paint jobs on... some unicorns. I don't see... Thanks, War Harry. Appreciate it. I shall have a look. I don't think I've seen red and black. I keep looking at there's a Gundam base special edition real grade a Gundam base special edition real grade unicorn called the Perfectibility, which has it's white like the normal unicorn, but it's got a blue psycho frame, and it has the Phoenix narrative version shields with tail tentacle things mounted on its back. Looks really, really good. That's in real grade, but it's a Gundam based special edition, so I'd need to get it imported. But I'm going to have to do that at some point because it looks really nice in the blue. Midnight purple with toxic green panel lines. Are you saying you want it to look like Evangelion Unit 1? Because I mean, I could get totally behind that, to be honest. Green and purple is a good colour scheme. I mean, I think if you were going to go down that route, you'd want the... If you're going to have the purple that dark, I'm assuming you want the green really, really, like, almost fluorescent green. I'd be tempted to see if I could find some paint that was UV reactive for the green, so that you could have it glow under black light as well. But I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. Much of my aesthetic tastes were informed by the 1990s. Yeah, that sounds good, War Harry. Right, so this goes on here like so. This goes on like that, and this clips on, and we have our second shield. We shall close up. Move those out of the way up there. Right, what's next? I-23 and I-25. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get any argument from me on that, War Harry. I am a big fan of old cars with corners and wedges, but reducing drag appears to be a critical part of modern car design. And that involves soft edges, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective. But yes, I'm a big fan of, you know, let's put it this way, one of my favourite cars is the Lamborghini Countach. If that gives you sort of an idea of where I'm coming from on that front. There's nothing left on this sprue except a tiny little man just here. So we're going to take this tiny little man off the sprue and we're going to put him in the box so that we can throw the sprue away, because one fewer sprue to have to deal with is better. Yeah, all my tiny little humans are sitting in various little plastic bags with other spare parts for various kits. The only tiny little humans that have purpose are the ones that are actually inside the models, as far as I'm concerned. And I do have some of those. I believe there is a tiny little human in here somewhere. Yes, probably War Harry. I think that probably was in Cannonball Run. Let's have a look. Who did he? Yeah, Lamborghini Countach. It's one of the LP400S's. Ah, yes, with the front wing and everything. Yeah, those are. I'm not a big fan of the spoiler on the very front, but other than that, yeah, there are versions that don't have that spoiler. But yes, that is just one of my favourite cars. Love it to bits. They are phenomenally expensive these days. Not that they weren't always phenomenally expensive, because they were always phenomenally expensive, but they are ridiculously expensive these days. And I shudder to think what getting parts for them is like. This is the problem with classic cars like that. It's all right when your classic cars are something that they made a lot of, you know. I have a kit car that uses a classic Mini as a donor car, an Austin Mini as a donor car. And that's fine, because they made millions of Minis over the 40 years it was in production or whatever. So getting spare parts for it is no problem at all, even now. But getting spare parts for something like a Lamborghini Countach, where they didn't make very many of them at all, you've got to have a special kind of bank balance to be able to own and run one of those. Yeah, the DeLorean is a good looking car. Fatally flawed, but a good looking car. Needed a bit more than a better engine. It needed better build quality, and it needed better weight distribution as well, as I understand it. It was extremely heavy at the back, and very, very light at the front, and was prone to losing it was prone to having problems with keeping control of it due to the front end lifting, which isn't really what you want out of a car. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're beautiful cars, but my understanding is that, and bear in mind this is broadly anecdotal, but my understanding is that there was a propensity among owners to ensure that there was always something heavy in the luggage compartment under the front, in the front of the car, to make sure that it was weighing the front down so you didn't lose steering. But it suffered, as many UK built cars of that era suffered, from very poor build quality. Oh no, we've got to put something on here first, haven't we? So this is going to go on this way round, like so. Then this goes on here. This clips on here. There we go. And then we have the third shield. Right, 3 completed shields. Victory is ours. I mean, the hollow backs on these are largely so that there's somewhere for everything to fold up inside, I think. Or Harry. It's sort of the extreme sort of is sort of the hollowness disappears once it's all folded up. But yeah, I really love the transformation on these. What is that catching on? catching on here? It must be catching on something. Ah, there we go. So yeah, here we go. And as mentioned before, the green on these is blacklight reflective. I haven't seen any. I haven't really seen any beam rifles or anything like that where that's the case. I mean, looking at the other weapons that we have here, we have these bazookas which are fully cast outside. There's the beam magnums that are currently attached to the kit, and they're also not visibly hollow. I mean, they are hollow on the inside, but okay. I mean, I've not done much in the way of high grade, so I will absolutely take your word for that. But I think we've done all right for today. It is 25 to midnight where I am, so I'm afraid I'm going to call it an evening here. Is anybody else streaming right this second who we can drop into? Iron-Blooded Raven is streaming. Let's make his life happy. So we're going to drop in on Iron-Blooded Raven. He is also they're also a build streamer. I believe they're currently, I don't know what they're building right now, but we will go and find out. Thank you all for being here. Before we go on, let me do the usual. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate the company. It's been a lovely evening, and I do value I do value everybody being here. You can find me on Twitter at TremaineAlex. That's probably the easiest way to get hold of me. I am here Saturday evenings, normally 7 or 8ish till whenever I get tired, and on Thursday evening UK time as well, normally 7 till about 10:30ish. I do try to do extra streams here and there, but they're very ad hoc, and they are sort of when I can fit it in. It's difficult to find time to do stuff these days, but I think that covers everything. You can find previous streams on my YouTube channel. You can find the link to that in the Twitch channel description. I think that covers everything. Now we shall raid. Thanks, War Harry. I hope we get a catch up with you as well. It's been really nice. Iron-Blooded Raven. Have I got that spelt right? Iron-Blooded Raven. Iron-Blooded Raven. Yes. Right. We're going to raid Iron-Blooded Raven. Say hi to him. Give him a follow. He's good people. And we shall raid very shortly.